Okay, so we are recording. Welcome to Radical Gratitude, a gateway to abundance. This is the free series version. And I'm Holly Bueller. If you don't know me and if you haven't seen me before, I do emotion and mindset coaching and things of that nature. So I'm going to give a little bit of a backstory as to how this course came about, and then I'm going to go over the homeworks and things like that, and then we'll get into the first lesson. And please let me know if you have any questions, because I know other people will have similar questions as well. So this course, I had read a book where it talked about gratitude, and it talked about how things just really going into gratitude could really change people's lives. And I felt really strongly that, okay, so this is something about me. If I don't do it in a group and I don't lead it, I will oftentimes not do it. So when I do groups, it's actually a lot of the time it's for me and it's to hold me accountable. And at the time I felt, okay, I need to do this 30-day gratitude challenge. And I knew there needed to be 4 lessons. And when I teach, I'll have insights come to me, and many times I'll be really resistant to it because I won't really want to go with how I'm feeling to do it, because my logical mind tells me something different. So I taught it the first time around, and it was really good. And so one of the things that I resisted was this first lesson, and I'll tell you why in just a little bit. But I knew that it was really important for people to wake up with an affirmation, to wake up with some sort of focus, and then to end the day with their gratitudes. And the reason for that is to start the day really good and happy and clean, and then end the day really good, so that's the energy that you slept in. That's the energy. So if you've ever been in a fight with someone, or you even watched a scary or just a movie that emotionally was hard for you, you may notice that you have bad dreams at night, or you wake up in a funk the next day. So those I knew were the 2 most important things. And then these lessons, basically, the focus on these are to bridge the gap between, no matter where you are, to get you from one place into this gratitude space. So it's kind of vague, but I'll give you more insights as we go. But where I was currently at the time in my life, I had been doing coaching, and I was a practitioner for a couple different modalities, and I'd been in the holistic field for a while, and I was doing massage and other things. But at this point in my life, we had made some choices to help some other people, and it kind of started these chain of events that would really dramatically change our lives. And so we took in 5 extra kids, and doing so, we knew it was the right thing to do. We knew that the other option was them to go to foster care. There were some family members. And so we felt confident in this. And having done that, it just kind of set some other things in motion. So at the time that I created this course, we lost ownership of 2 houses. We lost ownership of 2 cars, and we had offloaded about 80%, a good 80% of our belongings, including furniture and clothing and toys. Like, we just let go of a lot of things. And we moved across country, and we completely started over. And I was really stuck. I was in this particular area. I was still doing well in other areas, but this was one that I was really stuck in. I was bitter, and I was resentful, and every time So you'll notice something about me. I share a lot of my personal stories, and I share my honesty about where I was and judgments and things like that, because I think it's really important to be authentic and honest, especially me as the teacher, so that you guys don't think that I just have everything together and it's so easy for me and I'm just, I want you to see that I'm human and that I've been in these different places. And I also want to give you the hope and confidence that other people can too, that you can get to the other side of things. So we had gone from a 3,200 square foot home into an apartment, and some of our kids were sharing rooms, and we'd offloaded all of these things. And it was really hard because anytime that we had a money thing come up, my mind would go right back to the chain of events that went into play that got us there. And so I was really, so the reason why the 5 kids got taken away from their parents is because mom has made some really poor choices. And so my thing was, our minds will go to, okay, what started it? And so I was in blame a lot. And Melissa, what are you saying? Oh, is it frozen? Okay. Are you guys all good? Can you see me and hear me? Hopefully my internet is being friendly with us today. Okay. Okay, thank you. So this course was basically God's not so hidden way of basically saying, Holly, you need help with this. You need out of this. So we started it, and we've done the live version together a few times, and I'm actually really humbled and honored at all of the improvements that people have made when they do the course. And I don't claim it as mine. Half of the information, many of the aspects of this come through inspiration. So I am humbled and honored to be the person who gets to share it with you guys. And I actually have some asks for you guys at the end of this. So if I forget, please remind me. But having said all of that, I'm going to touch on the daily things and just the overview of the course, and then we'll get into the lesson. So the daily actions are, again, the morning affirmation. I would love for this to be connected to your intention. So if you want more peace and freedom, it's, I'm so excited and thankful for the peace and freedom that I'm experiencing today. And we put it in a affirmation phrase of I am experiencing it, because I want you to tune into the energy of I am experiencing it versus a want. Because when we tune into the want, it's always a want. We'll lock ourselves into the want phase. If we talk about searching for it, we'll lock ourselves into the search phase of it. I want us to lock into the am and the being so that becomes our experience. So if that makes sense, if you need help with an affirmation that matches your intention, please message me after. And then at night, the gratitude. This one is so important and so awesome, because even if it was a rough day, it can still pull you out of it. And we do the I am thankful for whatever it is, and then we tune into the because. There is always a because, but we oftentimes don't think of the because. And so the gratitude can feel really surface. Even though we truly mean it, we're not digging into the depths of the gratitude. So I am thankful for this because, and then I encourage you to use an emotion in this, or like a value. Did it make you feel respected? Did it make you feel happy? Did it make you feel loved? Any of those things. So those are the daily actions. You will find in the group, I have a link that brings you to my webpage, and it gives you a secret page that you can't find in my menu, where it will have these recordings loaded in after the class. You'll have the gratitude affirmations audio and the intro audio and PDFs and everything else that you will need. So there's a PDF for the journal. I will also add a PDF for the overview. I am incorporating essential oils into this. You don't have to, but I really like adding them because it just adds some potency in the work that we're trying to do. And I'll explain why in a little bit. And as we go, I will also give you other supports in there. And the audios and all of that in the free version, they are not downloadable. So you access them through that webpage. I think that is it. Does anyone have any questions about the overview and the format of this and just the logistics? So if not, we are going to do a screen share here. Let's see. Okay. Hopefully you guys can see this. Okay, awesome, thank you. Okay, so why gratitude? We talked about this a little bit in the, well, hopefully that chat is out of the way. In the audio in that web page, but let me explain it a little bit more and give you the visuals. This scale is mentioned in the book Power versus Force by David R. Hawkins. And what they did is they did some testing on, so they did applied kinesiology, and you can do more research on that. We won't spend a lot of time on this. But it's the same method that a lot of chiropractors will use to test what your body is experiencing. So if you have a bone out of place, out of alignment, by the strength of your muscles, so it's typically a strength test, and they'll like raise your arms or do the leg test, and they'll see where there's a strength and where's a weakness. And they tested all of these emotions, these words, and they got a vibration out of them. So on this scale, 0 being the bottom and 1,000 being the top and the highest, we'll talk about the different levels. So gratitude is at 900, and that's a pretty incredible vibration. Shame and guilt, so you have death at 0, so like you have no vibration, that's death. And then shame and unworthiness and despair are going to be your low ones. And then guilt, and then apathy and lack of interest is around like 50, and depression and things like that. So I'm actually going to read a couple more of these. Grief at 75, anger at 150, and at 250, we get this energy of neutrality. So what that is, it's we're not angry, we're not happy, we're not in love, we're just neutral. We're just kind of existing. A good portion of society, in broad general terms, is vibrating under this. So what they also did was they found out that one person who vibrates at 300 or more counterbalances 90,000 people vibrating at 200 or below. So again, let's say 200 is frustration and irritation, impatience and overwhelm. And then 310 is in willingness. And in willingness, this is where we start opening up, scripturally, this is where our hardened hearts soften and our minds open. And this is where we become more teachable and things of that nature. So on this scale, 500 is love, enthusiasm, happiness, things like that. 600 is peace. And then again, we go back up to gratitude, and that's 900. So not only is the goal in this course for us to change the vibration within us, and we talked about in the intro that our bodies and our spirits are such a high vibration naturally that when we come into this lower vibration of this human form, it can be really challenging because it feels like there's disharmony in between the two. So when we can raise a lot of these vibrations, when we become into more of a matching space, we'll have more, it will just feel better. We won't be in such a struggle space. And there are other things that we can do as well when it comes to food and things like that. But this, we are just talking about emotions and energy around that. So you'll find in psychology, but other things that we're doing science around, like the molecules of emotion. That book is really incredible. If this fascinates you, I encourage you to read that. But we're learning that the body basically keeps a score. The body keeps a record. So if we are experiencing anger, but we don't process it through the way that we should, we stuff it down and we cover it, we're collecting it. So part of this course is to help remove and release these things so that we can naturally have a higher state within us. Is this making sense so far? You guys just give me a yes in the chat. And are there any questions so far? Just let me know. So, oh, this is a little blurry because it was smaller on my page. We'll say that this person on the left is us, and this person on the right is, say, a spouse or a friend or a coworker even. The HeartMath Institute is a fantastic resource when it comes to the scientific studies that are now showing that our hearts, we have this electromagnetic field around us, and our hearts send out signals. They also receive signals. So there's this exchange that goes on. And this is partly why, when we raise our vibration, it will spread. Have you ever gone into a room and maybe you were having a really bad day and you were really grumpy or really sad, but someone else came in who was really light and happy and fun, and they came and they cheered you up? And just being around them felt better. This is what's going on. This experience right here, this exchange. So these electromagnetic fields, and this is also why you can get next to someone who's having a bad day or in a really bad negative mood, and you start to feel it because there's this exchange that goes on. Now, understanding this, we can start intentionally working with it rather than it working against us because we just are unaware. But what happens is when we're in this gratitude space, we can also share it with other people. So the next portion of this lesson is we're going to get really aware and conscious about what we choose to see and experience in life. And this is not saying that if bad things happen to you, you're choosing into them. This is about what we can control. So in this space, so this course kind of governs this heart space. And in it, I'm actually going to save that for another lesson because I'll just save this part, but this is kind of where we can or can't see where we're being blessed or looked after. having said all of that, my chat is stuck. That's okay. What kind of lens are you looking through? We all know the phrase is the glass the glass half empty, or is it half full? And whatever perspective it is based off whatever it is that we choose to see. So the question I pose to you is, what lens are we looking through? Now this little guy over here, he's got some glasses and he's not looking so happy. He's probably feeling grumpy or forgotten and overlooked or treated with indifference, and maybe God doesn't see his needs or mom doesn't see his needs, no matter what it is. So what we have the opportunity to do is to recognize, am I seeing the world through these lenses that are not incredibly accurate, or not accurate, but okay, so I'm feeling, so as I teach, something that you should know about me is I will start to kind of feel what people's blocks will be. I'm empathic, which means that I feel other people's emotions, and I can process that into thinking what they think and things of that nature. There are some who looking at the world through rose-colored glasses is not safe and it's not reality. And I will tell you why, to some degree, you still want to do it. But that's later on in the lesson. So we have the choice to look through these lenses that show us that the world is dangerous and that it's not safe and that people are bad and that they're rude and they're mean. And when we do that, we focus in and we zone in to that experience. And so even if good things are happening around us, we might not see it because we've got these blinders on that tell us the world is scary, the world is not safe, people are mean and people are rude. But then if we choose to take those off and we choose to put new lenses on that are through gratitude and joy and all these other things, we will start seeing the beauty in the world. We will see the people who are kind and respectful and supportive and giving. So this is, there's beauty in the world and we have so much to be thankful for, and we're divinely watched over and provided for and loved. Now, how do we get to this point if we have these old lenses and we want these new ones? This lesson I fought. I really, really fought this lesson. I don't know if you guys can still see me or not, but hopefully you can. I changed it on my screen, but I don't know if it changes for you guys. So over on the left of your screen, you see where there's these weeds, and these are like the lies and incorrect beliefs and the negative glasses that we have. And then ideally, we want this other space to the right where, okay, so let me backtrack. I don't know if I explained this in the intro. This course is going to use the analogy of planting seeds throughout it. So what I mean by that is, if our minds are a garden, we want to consciously plant the seeds that we want to grow. And at this point in the lesson, we need to be conscious about what's in there, and we want to clean up so that we can have a space to plant now. So if I was to come and try and plant a garden of strawberries in this one in the left, and I don't dig anything out and I don't remove anything, I can plant those seeds, but those weeds are going to rob it of the nutrients that it needs to survive and to grow and to thrive, and then to be able to harvest. So what we want to do, and I can still feel it, I resist this lesson every single time I teach it because of the anticipation of the reaction that will come from people. And that is, so I'm actually going to go back. It's because it's the forgiveness step this lesson is the forgiveness lesson. And having said that, let me briefly talk about some myths about and misconceptions about forgiveness. So, what is forgiveness? It's something that we are commanded to do, and sometimes just talking about it can bring a lot of pain to people. I sometimes like to use the word forsake instead. And that's if that word is easier to pellet for some people. When we forsake something, we give it up. We get rid of it. We forsake it. Forgiveness is actually, for the most part, not between us and another person. Now, what I mean by that is when people say we forgive that person, whatever they did, many times they think that what that means is so here are some of the myths. That we forgive and let it go, and it makes it as if the thing never happened, or that the person doesn't get justice. We think that forgiving means that we are condoning an action or accepting it as okay, or that we are giving the person or persons permission to do it again. So these are all myths. Forgiveness also does not mean that you have to stop thinking about it or talking about it. If you continue to think about it and talk about it, the why and the how is going to be different. For example, Mothers Against Drunk Driving. They don't forget what happened, and they don't stop thinking about what happened. If they lost a child because due to a drunk driver, they then will they'll advocate. So they'll talk about it. They'll spread their message. If they do it in a way that is not shaming and villainizing the people, they've probably gotten to a place in their forgiveness path where they've cleaned up enough of that stuff. If they're going to people and saying, and the pain will still hurt because they've lost someone, but how they talk about it is different. So they'll say things like, I experienced this and I don't want you to experience it either. So I'm going to share with you what I learned from my pain so you don't have to go through it again. But there's no shaming going on towards, oh, this guy did this and this guy did this and he was an awful person and that. So that's not the space that we go into. So I hope this is making sense about the dynamic between this idea of forgiving and forgetting. I actually had someone really wise tell me that forgiveness is sometimes always remembering what we forgave. And in that means that we learn from the experience. We always remember the lessons. We remember the boundaries that we needed to put into place. But we remember that we forgave and that we don't go back into it all the time. Forgiveness does not mean that we have to be friends again and hang out with people. It does not mean that we, if it's a marriage and it's an abusive situation or whatever it is, forgiveness does not mean that we have to stay married. So there are a lot of these myths and misconceptions around forgiveness that actually stop us from forgiving, and they are damaging to us. So, and forgiveness also does not depend on an apology or even acknowledgement or remorse. And that can be really painful for many people. And I understand what this one is like. But here's what forgiveness is. Forgiveness is releasing and freeing yourself from the negative thoughts and feelings and emotions that come from a situation. So I'll give an example. Trying to think of a good one that will not be too much. So say someone lies to you. When we forgive, we are releasing the negative feelings towards the person. And we are freeing ourselves from this. So if I have anger, bitterness, resentment, hatred in me, I am forsaking those, and I am enlisting the atonement to have those be healed and removed. And then when I look at the person, I can still look at them. It's not through judgment where I judge them as a person, but I can make decisions through really clear discernment of, if I need to not trust that person again because they have not shown themselves to be trustworthy, or that they even want a second chance or anything like that. So someone consistently lies to me and they never acknowledge it and they don't change their behaviors. My forgiveness does not mean that I have to trust them again. But what forgiveness does mean is that I don't judge them and I free myself from the emotions around it. Does this make sense so far? And does anyone have any questions so far? Just let me know and I'll stop, and if not, I'll keep going. Having said that, when we get into this space where we've worked through these feelings and emotions, we can think back on a situation and it not be so emotionally intense. And we won't judge ourselves based on it. So I want everyone to just kind of take a big cleansing breath, because this is going to be, for some, it's challenging. So when we take that big breath, we get into a more receiving space. When we hold our breath, we are not taking in new healing breath. So just focus on that throughout the lesson. If you find yourself holding your breath, just go back to that breathing. So what really helped me in being able to get to the point where I could forgive people and things and situations was understanding that this dynamic in relationship, when whatever I do to someone else, I am technically doing it to God. Whatever anybody else does to me, they're technically doing it to God. This is really interesting. I wasn't going to bring this one up. I actually was feeling to do a live video somewhere else, but I'll share it a little bit here. When we had, so at one point we had 2 rental homes. And in one of the homes, it seemed to just have really bad luck because we had 2 renters in it, and both of them at some point in time didn't pay rent for 6 months. One of them they both were like touch and go, but one of them actually didn't pay at different points for like more than 6 months, but I don't get nitpicky about it. This was a really challenging experience for me because at some point it had gotten to the point where it became either we pay the mortgage on their home or we pay the mortgage on our home, because this was the second. So we'd already been paying 2 mortgages for about a total of 12 months. And we ended up having to kick them out. They were people that we knew. It was a really hard situation. We went to church with them, and we had helped them when they needed a place to go. So 2 different people, 2 different like situations, 6 different periods of time, 6 different months, not periods. And this stayed with me for a really long time. And we moved to another state. And then my husband, one time, it was the end of the year, and we kept trying to create situations where they could pay us off or do a trade. And it became burdensome for us to hold the energy of that versus the money that we lost. And my husband was praying about it, and he got this answer, and he came to me, and he was the one who was on the papers, and so I didn't have a whole lot to do with it. So he was the landlord and not me. And so I had tried my best to just have hands off, but it's really hard when it's affecting you and your daily life and your kids. And he came to me, and I remember the day he said, I feel like I need to forgive them. I need to forgive their debt. And at first I was like, like, we already can't find these other people who owe us 6 months of a mortgage. Like, it was a hard pill to swallow, and I was so frustrated. And I just kept going back to, you know what, it's your choice, it's your thing, you know. I probably still had that debt in my mind for months after that, until I listened to an audio. And oh no, my computer is trying to do updates. Are we still good? Let's check time. I listened to this audio where this man was talking about, he was asking a question. He was talking about how his brother had stolen a lot of money from him, and he was trying to forgive. And he had gotten the answer one day. He felt like it was an answer from God that basically said, he didn't steal that money from you, he stole it from me. And I still get emotional. And it hit me, like it hit my soul. And I was like, this is months later. In my mind, I was like, oh my gosh, they didn't steal that money from me, because that's not my money. God gave me that money. God gave me everything. And when we do something to someone else, we are doing it to God. And so when I understood that, I saw me being able to unplug from this emotional charge that I felt was going from the offender to me right here. And I realized that that actually needed to go up to God, that anything that that person did or didn't do needed to be taken care of here, and that I had nothing to do with it. And when I did that, I was able to free myself. So the dynamic now, when we don't trust the process, we try to be the ones who control the justice versus mercy dynamic. And that's a heavy responsibility to hold. And when I freed myself from this, I was able to then free myself of the emotions around it. And it was now not about them doing that to me or them doing that to my kids, even though it affected us. I was able to release it easier. So I'm going to bring in essential oils, and I'm going to talk about them. And as we do it, whether you have them or not, whether you intend on having them or not, we're going to talk our minds through the process of what needs to happen. So this first step in this forgiveness protocol, and I love breaking things down into action steps, because I was one of those people that everyone would be like, oh, let it go, let it go. And when that song came out, I was like, not letting it go. Like, to me, if I let this anger and resentment and bitterness and unforgiveness go, like I just let it go, it's like it was still there. Like, I needed to be able to give it to someone to take it and like take care of it. And this is how I was with this forgiveness stuff. Letting it go to me meant brushing it off and pretending like it didn't exist. So this first step in this forgiveness aspect is, first, we have to identify, what is it that we're experiencing? What is it that what emotion, what is it here that we're feeling and thinking that we need help with? So this black pepper essential oil, again, we go back to that scale of vibration, and each of these oils will have a negative emotion that they help release and an opposite positive that they help integrate. So basically, we bring in these good vibrations that push out the negative opposite. So in unforgiveness is forgiveness, right? So in this black pepper, I'm actually going to talk about some of the emotions that can release with it. I wasn't going to do that, but it feels important. These are going to release dishonesty, repressed emotions, prideful, trapped emotions, or feeling superficial. What this does, and we're going to place all three of these on our forehead and temples. And the reason for this placement is if we have a mask, say we have a mask with ourselves and we're not being honest with ourselves about what it is that we're feeling and experiencing, we need to release these. So we're going to put this on our forehead and temples, and you can rub it in. Essential oil wise, please do your due diligence in finding out if you have any contraindications. If it's an oil you need to dilute, which I just dilute all of them for the most part. If you're on any medications, if you have any illnesses, please do your research and make sure that this is something that you can do. Otherwise, just imagine the vibration of this unmasking coming here. So this is all about what we're seeing. So we're taking those lenses off. We are going to get really honest with ourselves about what is it that we're experiencing. And maybe this means that we have some thought processes that need to change. So cardamom is the oil of objectivity. And what we're going to do here, this releases anger, blaming, easily frustrated, unable to think clearly. And we're going to bring in self-control, respect, tolerant, and patient. And then with black pepper, we're bringing honesty, authenticity, integrity, self-awareness, courage, and motivated. Again, this is going to go in here. So this is us being able to have this sight and step back from the situation and say, okay, emotions aside, what's going on here? What can I learn from this? And then fennel is the oil of responsibility. Now, let me give us a note to this. You may have done nothing in this situation. I keep looking down here because that's where my video is, so sorry. If you are in a situation where you did nothing wrong, absolutely nothing wrong, this responsibility is not what I'm talking about. The responsibility aspect here is if you have done something to play a part, this helps you see that. This helps you own your part in it. So for instance, if someone gets mad at me and lashes out at me, but I lash out back, I'm responsible for that. When you've done nothing wrong to warrant it, someone else's agency has come into play and it's really hurt you. The responsibility here lies in how we handle this. Are we re-traumatizing ourselves by constantly thinking about it and going back into it? Are we hurting ourselves by getting angrier and angrier and angrier and bitter? Are we frustrated, being frustrated to a level where we advocate and we look for change? Totally appropriate. But when we get into these intense and negative emotions, that's where we really start getting into the mud, and we're not progressing as a society. So this responsibility helps us see, okay, what negative emotions am I experiencing? What can I change here? As you do these, take a really big, deep breath. Step 2. And we might go a few minutes over. Hopefully that's okay. I want to respect your time, but I also want to get all of this in, and we did have some housekeeping stuff in the beginning. Step 2 is to release. Now, before you do this, you have some homework, and this is going to take time. This might take you all week. This might take you doing it over and over. It's totally fine. I will be providing you with a forgiveness visual audio. So I walk you, it's an audio, so I walk you through a visual. And you're going to bring in people that have hurt you and forgive them. And you are going to bring in the people that you hurt and forgive them. One really important thing here is you need to be one of those people that you bring in who has hurt you, because we have hurt ourselves. Everyone has. We make choices, we think things, and they hurt us. If we're thinking negative thoughts all the time, we hurt ourselves. There's no judgment to any of this. This is humanness. We all go through this. And then, so we want to forgive ourselves as well. Have we hurt other people, and have we hurt ourselves? We want to forgive us for all of this. If there are things that you can't forgive yet because you need to express them, I encourage you to be very prayerful. If you feel to express it to another person, please do this in a very centered space, in your heart, after praying and pondering, and not in this ego mind anger space. That is not going to help anything. If you need to express it, but you don't need to say it to that person, you can express it to another person and say, I need to be heard. Will you hear me? And it's just like when we ask if we can vent to a friend, they'll say, yeah, I'll hear you. I'll hear your story. I'll validate you. I will give you love, unconditional love. Whatever your need is, just ask them. You can also just express this in a letter that you write, like you write it and then you burn it, or you trash it, you shred it, or you can go out into an empty space or a field, or in your car in an empty parking lot, and just say it or cry, or just whatever you need to do. Get it out. Sometimes I imagine saying the stuff that I need to say to the person's spirit, but in a way that is not spreading negativity. And I'll, in my mind, just kind of say a prayer like, Heavenly Father, please help me to not get into a space of spreading the hatred, but I just really need to, like, emotionally and mentally tell this person, this really hurt me. I value honesty, and your lies really hurt me. And so get it out. In addition to this forgiveness visual audio, there will be another audio that helps. It's going to shift some energy, and we are going to take some big deep breaths through it. We're going to identify where things get stuck and identify patterns. And as you breathe, we shift and release. When we have aha moments, this is the same thing that happens. Something changes in us, in our minds and in our bodies. And we have those moments where we breathe. It's like we integrate the aha and we release the stuff that doesn't match. So this step, after you've done the homework, this next step is really important. The oil of helichrysum is for pain. And we want to use this for both the physical pain and the emotional pain. Some things that people do to us physically hurt us because they may have hit us. There's a wide array on there of things that can happen. And this can help that physically, if it's recent. There's an emotional pain that is very real. And so this is also going to help that aspect of it. When we get to the point where we feel like our hearts are so broken, we will literally feel this in our chests. We will feel it, and our body does keep score. So if we have all of this unforgiveness and anger and things, we will feel it in our bodies. We just might not recognize, oh, I'm feeling grief in my heart. Sometimes this actually, I've recognized in myself, a lot of my anxiety in my chest has actually been grief and pain and emotional pain that I haven't been addressing. So I feel like I have something on me. Oh, I don't know if you can see these. So this is going to be on your heart chakra and your shoulders. So the heart, it's just the heart space here. And so we're applying all of this in the heart space, the shoulders, and the neck. All of these are going to be applied there. I want you to, you can mix these and put carrier oil in them and mix them all together if you would like, or you can do them one at a time. The next one is petitgrain, and this is the oil of ancestry. So we're releasing repeating patterns that are playing out. If your family has a tendency to hold on to grudges, this will be naturally more challenging for you to release if you have the energy of that. So we have our physical DNA that's passed down. We also have this kind of energetic DNA that comes down with it. Time is for releasing and forgiving. So we're letting go of the anger and the hate and the bitterness and the resentment. We are releasing those. What these oils do is that it's like when you have your soil, those in Arizona, you'll totally get this. When the soil is really, really dry and you've got huge weeds that need plucked out, it's really hard to get the whole root of those weeds if you haven't softened the soil first with water or something else. And then when it is softened, those things pluck out really quick. So that's what these oils help us do. They're helping to soften that so that we can release these. So again, these all go in this space in here. We are holding a lot of this in this space. Wintergreen is the oil of surrender. So we're letting go of the control. We're letting go of thinking that we have to hold on to these things. Many times people will hold on to what's happened in the past because they feel like there won't be any proof. It's like they have to get, when they die, it's like they come to God and say, these are all the awful things that happened to me. Go take care of that person. And when you think about what that person has to hold on to their whole lives, it would make sense why we wouldn't be able to get into this gratitude space, because it's like we collect. I see it sometimes in my mind, an image of we just keep record of all these awful things that happen, but then at some point the good has nowhere to go. It can't come in. So we're cleaning that space for all this really good, awesome stuff to come in these next lessons. So this wintergreen helps us to just surrender and drop those things and give those things away. White fir or Douglas fir, you can use either of these. These are for generational healing and generational wisdom. So not just healing, but also learning from the past. Releasing these and learning, okay, how can I change this? What can I do instead? Big breath on all of these as you do them. The next step is to connect and accept. This first one, bergamot, is for self-acceptance and love unconditionally. If to some degree we feel like we deserve negative things, it will be hard for us to let these things go. So now that we've released a lot of these things, we want to bring in the good now. These are all going to go on our solar plexus space in our heart. So let me stand up just a little bit. So this is the heart space right in here. And if these are your ribs and this is your belly button, where your stomach is your solar plexus. When someone hurts your feelings, many people will liken it to having a punch in the gut, like it hurts because it hits your power, it hits who you are. We are bringing these really awesome energies back and vibrations back into this space. So we want you to love yourself unconditionally, love others unconditionally. And cedar wood is the oil of community. And so what we're going to do with this one is bring back that sense of belonging and opening up to connecting with others and to receiving your heart, receiving that love from others as well. So marjoram is the oil of connection, and the intention behind this one is not just to connect with other people and connect with ourselves, but connect to Christ and God and this process that happens, this beautiful process of the atonement that we are going to enlist on our own. When we go through this, these are like the steps of how do I do this? If we can connect to the healing atonement of Christ, this will work. And we then, once we do this, we want to then be able to connect to other people and even share our wisdom around this of, I healed from this, I forgave, and you can do this too. The next oil in this is, they call it the Skin Clearing Blend. This one is by doTERRA, this particular blend I'm talking about. And that is a trademarked, it's HD Clear, I believe. If you need individual oils because you don't have this blend, reach out to me and I can give you some suggestions. I will actually, I'm feeling for this group to offer, I don't sell the oils, like I don't sell doTERRA, but I'm feeling to create some packages where you guys can just purchase small bottles of these from me so that you can have all of them and not have a huge financial investment with this. So I'll talk about that at the end. This oil is the Skin Clearing Blend, which is also about accepting imperfections. And this is not just accepting the imperfections in us, but it's accepting the imperfections in other people. So again, each of these, you're not going to use a ton of them. Maybe like a drop or even a dab, like if you take it and you just kind of dab and you put it over that space, that's really enough. If you need to dilute it, go ahead and dilute it. Some of them are hot oils and some of them are photosensitive ones, so be mindful of that. So again, in this power space, when we accept our own imperfections and not in a, oh yeah, it's totally fine that I have these imperfections and I'm not going to do anything to make them better. That's not what we're talking about. This is, yeah, I'm human and you are too. And that's okay because we can all love each other and support each other in this messy journey of humanness and trying to be better each day. So take a big breath. That is step 3. I know I'm going really fast, so please reach out if you have questions. No questions yet, okay. So this last step is step 4. And this is renew and revitalize. What's happened all of this time is, I always use sticky note analogy because I love office supplies and they're always handy. If this is resentment and this is bitterness, can you guys see me still? And this is anger. Say I've got all of these on me all the time. This is really restricting and it's also very heavy. And this will start causing issues within your body. Symbolically, so I was a massage therapist for a really long time. Well, not really long time. I went through my training about 15 years ago. So we're going to put this here. And then I'll remember to take them off. And I have no shame, so hopefully this is fun. I had a really great teacher who, he was a Rolfer, trained Rolfer, certified Rolfer, and he could look at the body and see where the restrictions were in the body and symbolically figure out what it meant. We could tell, and he taught us this, and it was really great because it wasn't in the books. He taught us to be able to look at the body and see symbolically what was going on in their lives or what had happened in their past. And we also learned in massage therapy that as we did the massage, it could wake up things in people and they could have a somatic release, which was an emotional release. So If you've ever had a massage and you start laughing or you start crying or you get angry, you don't know why, it's because these emotions are literally stored in our bodies if we don't process them correctly. So if I get angry, which anger inherently is not bad, it can be the first, like the initial part of it can get us to hold boundary, can get us to protect someone, can get us to do something. But as we understand it today, most people are totally out of balance when it comes to anger. They act out in ways that are not appropriate. And so what we need to do is we feel these emotions in order to process them, which means we might need to feel the grief. We might need to feel those. So when we feel them, we've identified, we've acknowledged, and we've released them. So when we take this off, we have this moment where all this weight is lifted off of us. And then we want to bring in this renewed, revitalized energy, because the bandwidth, the energetic and mental, emotional, and physical bandwidths that we've had to use to keep those in place and to carry them and to remember them. Because I'll tell you, we've gotten to the point where we know exactly what that one was. We know exactly which one is here, and we know which one is here. Consciously, we might not, but subconsciously we do. And we can be like, oh yeah, that thing, like that's totally my anger. Oh, that's my grief that I didn't, talk about. And we'll even hear people when two spouses have been together for decades, one spouse passes away, it is very common for the second spouse to pass away quickly after. And many people will say, oh, they passed from a sad heart, a grieving heart. I think that there's maybe a lot to that, actually, especially with the clients that I work with. I see the symbolism in this mind, body, spirit connection. So I digress a little bit. Hopefully that explains this step. Ginger. So we are putting all of these on the bottoms of our feet. So if these are my feet, right? These are the bottoms. I'm going to put it on the entire foot space, because not only are our pores on our feet incredibly, they're bigger than other areas. They're very porous, so they absorb things really, really well and really quickly. They also match reflex points to your entire body. So oils that you put on the bottoms of your feet will reach pretty much every cell in your bloodstream within 30 minutes. So if you put, say, oregano on the bottom of your feet, within about 30 minutes, you'll taste it in your mouth. So these are really incredible. So we're infusing these oils throughout your whole body. And again, they carry a certain vibration on that scale that does a specific job. Ginger is the oil of empowerment. And what we're bringing back into that space, well, we're putting it on your feet. So your whole body is being empowered. You're getting out of victimhood. You're seeing where you can make changes. You're seeing where you can heal. You've got this new energy behind you, and it's really great. And it's strong. And then basil is the oil of renewal. So what we're bringing into this one, again, it's that feeling that you get after you've been like really sick, and then you get to a normal space, but that normal space feels really amazing. This is going to release anxiousness, overwhelm, feeling exhausted, negative habits, feeling drained. And this is bringing in feeling energized, renewed, rejuvenated, strengthened, and rested. And then eucalyptus, we are, I'm going to find that. This is the oil of wellness. And we are releasing things like feeling defeated, despairing, wanting to escape responsibility, feeling imprisoned or powerless to heal, and being attached to this illness or whatever experience we're having. So we're bringing in feeling liberated, responsible, able to heal, and encouraged. Again, all of these go on the bottom of your feet. And in each of these steps, I want you to take time to consciously imagine what these feel like. What does it feel to be empowered and feeling renewed and feeling whole and well and freed from the hurt and despair and the bitterness and the anger or the grief? Next week is actually all about grief. And I will take you step by step on how to process that grief. And are there any questions so far? Okay. Time-wise, we've gone over about 8 minutes, so hopefully you guys are all good. But I wanted to get through this. So that is it. Let me stop screen sharing. Okay. Oh, when I was doing that, those chat questions weren't coming through. I'm sorry about that. Okay, so the question is, do we write a new affirmation each day or just listen to the audio? I missed that part. Okay. So in your journal, you find that PDF on the website. It will have a space for your affirmation. Please keep the affirmation, the same affirmation every day, unless you feel prompted to adjust it or change it. Because we want you focused on that one. If you're focused on that one thing for 30 days, it's going to be amazing. So I want more freedom and peace. And so I talk about how exciting and happy it is that I am experiencing peace and freedom every day throughout the day. Let's see. And then you can listen to the gratitude affirmations audio anytime that you want to. You can do it every day. You can do it in the morning. You can listen to it when you're having a bad mood or in a bad mood. Okay. Hopefully that clarified that question. I'm sorry. Hopefully you guys didn't feel like I was ignoring you. I couldn't see those. Great question. So do you meditate and say the affirmations in your head or repeat them out loud or the PDF? Whatever you feel to do. If you are someone who feels like you have to speak it, speak it. If you want to, so some people, I just didn't want to make it too complicated, so I'll give you a couple ideas. You can record yourself saying the affirmation, and you can repeat it over and over if you want to, and you can put music behind it and then play that in your headphones. So that's something that you can do. And yeah, so if you want to say it out loud, you can totally say it out loud. You can say it quietly. You can holler it. You can declare to the world and the universe that it is going to be an awesome day. You just totally do whatever you feel to do. In the creation process, it's talked about in the scriptures actually, this process of God deciding what was going to be, and he told it, and then they went and they did. So it's think, so we have the idea, and then we speak it, and we start doing things like planning. We may speak it, and we may tell somebody else, and then we do. So it's that cycle of, and that's why we are told to watch our thoughts. Things that we think of, we're more likely to do. Things that we think of and speak about, we're more likely to do. So think, speak, do. Think, speak, do. And then there's other things in this speaking category, but we won't get into that. So I do the one affirmation in the morning. That's my thing. It's going to be an awesome day. And I see the beauty in the world, and whatever your affirmation is. And then at night, you do the 3 gratitudes. We want you in a really great space while you sleep. Because if you can just kind of bask and bathe in the gratitude while you sleep, your sleep is going to be better. Maybe not in the beginning, but it will eventually. Any other questions? Maybe. Okay. So this I will actually share in the Facebook group. We had, and forgive me for those of you who signed up in the beginning and registered, I had decided that I wanted it to be something that it could be really easy to access. And so when I clicked, you don't have to register, I lost the names of everybody who had registered. So I don't know who had that. And so I've just been trying to share so that those people can find it again. So if you guys are willing to share this, I would totally love that. So not this video, but share the group for people to join if you want others to join us. Here's my ask, and you can totally go if you need to go. I'm gonna put this in the video though. I have felt prompted to, I'm a little anxious admitting it to the world. I've actually felt prompted to create this, make it a book. And I also am feeling impressed to ask for people to share their stories to be added into the book. I'm like, I'm freaking out. That's my first time really announcing it. I've told like 2 or 3 people. So it's real now. But if you have an experience with each of these lessons, please feel free to write an experience and share it with me. So it's going to be a story, and the max is going to be 1,000. I think 1,000, no more than 1,000 words, but really around there. It can really just be around 500 or less. It can be a really just short story or just really short experience. It can even just be a testimonial. But I will receive those and pray and ponder over which ones will be added in, because I would love to see experiences that happen with each lesson and then the whole course as a whole. So that's my ask. Sharing this with you freely, that is, well, aside from participating fully and showing up for yourself, my ask for me is if you don't mind sharing this with other people, and then if you feel prompted to write a story and share your experience, I would love to have that and potentially add that to the book that I will be putting together for this. So thank you all for coming and for joining. And you guys have shown up. And just by you being here and into this, you're already making really great choices, and you're wanting the change. And so that starts the process. So hold on. Oh, thank you. Thank you for the reminder. Okay. If you are interested, I have a master list of the oils that I will post in the group that will share which ones we use at each time. If you don't want to purchase them all, because individually they're anywhere from $10 to $50 or more. If I have enough people, well, actually, I think I have them all. I have felt I don't have the big one in front of me. So this is the size of the roller bottle that I will be doing for the gratitude blend. I'm offering you guys it's funny, the number came to me, $11.11, the gratitude essential oil blend. And it will be a different ratio than what I mentioned in the thing. It will be more potent. That if you would like sample sizes of every oil so that you don't have to buy them all yourselves, I am putting together a package of all those. It's like 18 different oils and this blend for $55.55 for that whole pack. And that covers shipping and bottles and all of that jazz. And it's going to be enough really for you to do this protocol all of the protocols more than one time. It should be enough. As long as you don't use a 10, it'll be enough for you to do the protocols. And they're actually going to come a little bit diluted. So that way I just know you guys are going to be just really safe with it. So if you're interested in that, and that's actually the price on that is cheaper than you can get in some other places for samples. I know Butterfly Express does samples, and some of them they're anywhere from like $2 to $7 each sample. So if you have questions, if you're interested, reach out to me, just message me, and I will get those to you guys. So, and I'll have to send you a special pay link for those because I don't offer it on my website, although I might, because that would just make it easier. So anyways, good luck. I will add all of this stuff into the website today. It will just take some time to download and upload and all of that jazz. So be patient and keep me posted. Please let me know how you do in this. So love you all. Have a wonderful day, and we will see you next week at the same time. Bye, guys.